welcome to Combat Thoughts. I'm Robbie.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Alex.
We're going to take a deeper look at the culture and philosophy behind martial arts. JP, take us back to the beginning. Earliest martial art or relevant martial art experience.
All the way back.
Well, I mean, you can keep it sensibly brief if it's going to be too much.
So, yeah, well, I am old, so there'd be a lot of time to go, I suppose. I think, I guess I'm kind of, so just to be clear, I'm 51. So when I was younger, like martial arts, if someone could do martial arts, it was like a superpower. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of like mysticism about it and mythology, and there was always kind of that thing where they'd say, "Oh, you don't want to mess with that guy. He knows karate or anything like that." So I kind of always was aware of it, but I guess it wasn't really until around the sort of mid 90s when I tried like a few karate classes or something. So I'd have been in my mid 20s. But to be honest with you, I spent most of my 20s like partying and stuff like that. So I didn't really have time for anything serious like a sport or an activity. And then around 30, what happened was I had a young family, I had got my first proper job and started to have that kind of concern about the fact that my body wasn't reflecting when I was looking at it in the mirror, I was like thinking, what on earth is going on? So I kind of decided to get into fitness of some kind, right? So you took in about the turn of the millennium, around 2000 a bit. So I started doing a bit of running and yoga. And although that sounds unrelated, what I found with those kind of activities was there was no progression, right? You just kind of run. And I was doing that Bikram, that hot yoga, which is just kind of, you do the same postures every single time. So you just get hot, a bit stressed, and you don't really, there's no kind of like learning a new thing.
So what you take away from Bikram yoga is hot stress, nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, panic attacks. What? That doesn't sound great. No, it's not. So I did that, and then at the place, so in Brighton, there's in Hove, it's dynamic yoga now. That's used to be where it was. And in there, there was some studios, and in one of them they used to do Wing Chun Kung Fu. Now, because of when I was a kid and growing up, obviously there was Bruce Lee, and you read all about that stuff about how Wing Chun was like part of his sort of lineage. And at the time, I was also my favorite Kung Fu film was The Prodigal Son, which kind of played on that myth of, you know, the weak can do cool stuff by chain punching and not really fighting properly or whatever. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm sure if you're good at Wing Chun, then you can devastate people. But yeah, I didn't really find that for me, but I started doing it. So I did it for a couple of years. And at the time I was like thinking, maybe I want to be a martial artist because of all that stuff about superhero powers. And I thought, well, maybe I need to widen my scope. And at the time, so I don't know if you know, Robbie, but way before your time, there used to be a place in Brighton called Zero Tolerance Gym, ZT Fight School. And Sol Gilbert, who's like one of the early MMA guys in the UK, that was his gym. And the studios where you used to do Wing Chun, you'd go out, and I remember clocking these guys sort of doing MMA. There was a cage, like a small cage in there, and they were doing that. And I saw people like doing stuff that wasn't striking, and also wasn't shuffling up and down a hallway, punching the air, or doing forms either, as an aside. And I thought, that looks quite interesting. And the guy who ran the class, the Wing Chun class, was called Simon Chan, and his brother is Kevin Chan, who came on the big Wing Chun Federation. But they also, Kevin Chan is one of the first like UK BJJ black belts, and he does the whole complete martial artist thing. So I remember turning to Simon, his brother, and saying to him, "What's going on? What's that about?" And he said, "Oh, we do that." And they would do like one day a week. So I kind of thought, that looks quite interesting, but I couldn't really get to the class at the time, and also I didn't really know much about it. Anyway, so I started fishing around for other things to do to supplement my chain punching expertise, and I mucked around with a few different things. Someone sort of said try judo and aikido, so I did a bit of aikido for about 3 or 4 months, and I was like, I'm not sure this is for me either, for reasons that anyone who's ever looked at somebody who does Aikido would probably fathom. But I did read. Have you read Angry White Pajamas?
I haven't read this. What the
No.
fuck is
So
Angry White Pajamas?
it's a book by, his name's Twigger, I think, and he basically was teaching English as a foreign language in Japan.
Mhm.
And one of the things he did was he signed up to do the Tokyo Riot Police Aikido course. I think it's something like that. So obviously, I read the book and went, Aikido must be tough because Tokyo Riot Police do it. And I mean, one, that sounds like a cool name for a band, first of all, like Tokyo Riot Police. But I thought if I'm going to do something cool, then Tokyo Riot Police would be the thing. So I did Aikido for a bit and I was like, I'm not sure I could actually throw somebody using these techniques. So then I was kicking about, and one of the guys who I used to train with, a guy called Tim, doing the Wing Chun, he'd started training. There was a guy called Marcelo from Brazil who'd started a BJJ in Brighton. So I don't know if anyone you've spoken to's ever mentioned him before, but he was basically one of the first guys, and it was at the Brighton Judo Club, as it was. So where Elements, where I train now, is. And I said to him, Tim, I want to do something beyond this Wing Chun stuff. And he went, come and do BJJ. So I was like, okay, I'll have a look. It was super expensive, right? And I was like, and Marcelo is actually who Yusuf, the main coach at Elements, and also Kim trained with him, and really cool guy called Ed Wynn, who's now got his black belt as well, used to train there. So like the old school Brighton heads used to train there.
Oh, so that's where the Brighton lineage comes from then. Like,
Yeah, initially, and then, but I was kind of like, I don't know. And also, actually, another guy, I don't know if you ever met Phil, he's got his black belt, Phil Cottingham, he's like in the Lake District. He trained there as well. And yeah, so I kind of thought about it, but I didn't do it. What I ended up doing was signing up. I went to this sports hall in Portslade and did Thai Jitsu.
Oh no! I know about Thai grappling.
No. Oh, no. Au contraire, not that at all. So on reflection, I think the guy, was like a trad taekwondo guy and a trad jiu-jitsu. He was a black belt in those two things. Had seen the emergence of MMA and gone, I think there's something in this. And had a bit of a think and went, what could I call it where I mix the two things? I know, Taijitsu. But the thing about it is that's where I got into grappling, because the first half of the class would be putting on pads and punching each other, mainly windmilling and random stuff like that. And the second half was grappling, but it was madness, right? Because there was some structure to it, but we were a bunch of people who didn't know what we were doing, and we were like can opening each other, heel hooking each other, and it was just like a brawl, but with no punching, right? And I remember, and the guy, so he's the guy who I was talking about before we started this, who kind of was a bit odd, that kind of the kind of people you find in martial arts where you go, they kind of bring you into that world where it's kind of like, yeah, we're going to teach you fighting, and it's going to be you, and then sort of nurtures you, and you're kind of like, I'm quite good at this, but you're good because you're with the people who you're sparring with, right? So, and there's another guy who trained there who's a black belt now at one Ju-Jitsu at Ivan's place, a guy called Julian, a really cool guy. He used to train there as well. But as an aside, he was like a black belt in Taekwondo, so we'd do the stand-up stuff, and he would just beat the shit out of me with like, I'd be there going, yeah, I'm going to chain punch this guy because I've done Wing Chun, and then he would just kick me in the head, and it would just be like, this is rubbish. So I kind of got into the grappling thing. So when would this be? This would be around 2008, 2009, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then one time we were doing the drill, and it was some kind of throw and then a counter to the throw. I was working the counter, and when I went to do the counter, instead of like, it was like a trip to the back, but as I did it, my leg got stuck, and and I hit the deck, and as part of my leg being trapped, my patella came out to the side. Yeah, so imagine your knees like this. The patella came out to the side like that, right? And yeah, it kind of hurt, but felt really weird. And a little tip, if that ever happens to you, is if you straighten your leg, the patella just pops back into place. But it makes you feel like you want to vomit and everything when you do it.
It's like,
so
it's as easy as saying, no, just put your shoulder back into place. And it's like, oh.
I've done that. I've done that as well, but that's a slightly different story. That was that. I did that when I trained at Fight Zone in London once. I was a purple belt, and I was working in London, and everyone was going, "Yeah, got it." No, not Fight Zone, Fight Factory before Fight Zone came up. But London Fight Factory before Kanya set up Fight Zone. I went to one of Marco's classes at Fight Factory, and we're doing specific sparring, and we're doing DLR. Yeah, we're doing DLR, and this Polish dude. Why is it always a Polish guy? Right? I don't know. But this Polish dude was doing it, and we're doing like just drilling. And as he swept me, I posted, and my arm popped out. And I thought, I've got at least an hour and a half before I get home. So I did actually. Everyone was like, when people crowd around you, they're going, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah," trying to be tough in this gym where I didn't know anybody. They went, "What should we do?" I went, "Just pull my arm out." And they pulled it back into place. Yeah.
I did something similar to break falling, but nobody told me how to break fall. And we was practicing double legs, and I went down and backwards and just put my hand like that. And
yeah, it sucks, right? And you're looking at least 12 weeks, even just for a minor.
I was sleeping on like a pillow as well, and it was grim.
So what happened then? Oh, sorry. Yes, back to Taijitsu madness.
The weird Taijitsu, yeah.
The weird guy. So I got injured, and then there's loads of stuff. But anyway, I got injured, and then he kept kind of like trying to contact me, trying to find out what I was up to, and I was like, "This is," and when you have moments of reflection. Excuse me. So with the injury, I had that sort of started thinking about what I was doing, and I'd done it for about 2 years, and I was thinking. I started replaying the incidents in my mind and how he treated the students. And I was like, I'm not sure that's a healthy environment. Maybe I need to think about something else. And so I contacted that kid, Tim, again. And by now, Marcelo had disappeared. But there were 3 places to train Jiu-Jitsu in Brighton. So I was 39. So that would be, I think it was January 2010. Yeah, January 2010. So Tim said to me, check out these 3 places, go and try them out. So the 3 places were, there was, so Miad, I think was running his, I don't know if they were Alliance at the time. He was running something down at King Alfred's. I contacted him, but the timings didn't quite work for me, so I couldn't get to that. There was, Ivan Maciel was running Jiu-Jitsu classes at CT Fight School. So CT Fight School was the MMA place. So Ken Shiro, who does the Thai boxing up at the race course with his own setup, he was one of the guys there. So, and there was another place which is now, it was the precursor to what was Grand Union, which is locally, which was, prior to that it was RGA, and I'm not sure who it was under then, but it was run by Gus, who used to run Grab and Pull, who now does the, who set up BJJ 24/7, I believe, and also now sold that and now runs one of the big comps.
He's done a few bits.
Yeah, man. So he was like a big face on the Brighton scene. I think he still trains. Well, no, he was at Grand Union, I think, for a bit under Caesar. But anyway, so I went to those. I couldn't get to Miad's. I went to the one that Gus ran. That was in a fitness gym or something. And there was a guy called Darren, who was also a brown belt there, I think. So I rocked up to that in my after my couple of years of mad, cranky grappling. Kind of did some we did some kind of King of the Guards type stuff, and I kind of did okay, right? So I thought, oh, maybe there's something. Maybe I have learned to grapple, and I'm kind of okay. So I messaged my mate Tim. I said, yeah, I went. It was really cool. And he said, try the other one. Try Ivams as well. So I rocked up to Ivams, thinking they're probably just going to throw a blue belt at me. I'm going to rock up. They're going to say this guy is like a legit phenom, even though he's 39, and give me a blue belt. And I spent the entire session getting absolutely mauled by like one stripe white belts, and I was like, okay,
Didn't learn.
no, and also getting told off for doing things like heel hooking people and, you know, pass guard. How am I going to pass this guy's guard? I'm literally going to put his chin into his chest and see if I can break his spine. Right. You know, that all the whole can opener thing, and then getting called out for that. So I was like, okay. So I stayed there. So I thought, actually, you know, I'm going to stick with Ivan's place. Stayed with Ivan, trained with him. I got my purple belt. So I'm a blue belt in about a year and a half. Got my purple belt in about 3 years. I was competing a lot. And then for reasons that maybe I don't want to talk about too much, I moved on. Okay. I mean, I moved on from that. So I just think maybe it wasn't the right place for me. I think maybe it just wasn't the right place for me. Ivan at the time, it's probably different now, but at the time there was a kind of like a, you don't train with other clubs kind of mentality.
Creonch.
Yeah. And, you know, and I mean, it was a tough place. I mean, what I learned training there, don't take me wrong, he's a legit black belt. And when I rocked up there day one, I was overweight, crappy grappler, and he turned, that person, IT software consultant, to someone who could go to, you know, I used to go to comps, and if I didn't, I expected to podium, right? Every time I went to a comp, I expected to podium. And, you know, I won the British Open. I won I had a good comp record, but it just wasn't the right environment for me. Maybe because of that sort of old school outlook. So as it turned out, I was kind of looking for an out, and I happened to land a project in Paris. And I was there 4 days a week. So I wasn't really able to train in the UK. I started training. I trained at 3 places, 2 places predominantly, Gracie Barra Paris, which was kind of like where all the creatives from Paris who were into Jiu-Jitsu would train, and it was all very nice. And I trained at Hybrid Grappling, which is basically it was like all the ghetto kids, and it was just like, you know, I'd walk into this sort of Parisian suburb, and I'd had to walk through quite a rough area to get to the gym where we were training. And I'd like walk in, and you could see all their eyes like going ching ching, and they're, who's this coming in? And yeah, and it was really tough training, but great fun. Really super cool guys. But what I learned there in Paris was that old school mentality wasn't widespread. I thought that's how jiu-jitsu was until I'd come across this.
I think
I also trained
at how jiu-jitsu was, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Even, well, you're talking about 10 years ago now, right?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So I think if you go much beyond that, then that probably would have been pretty common.
Yeah, so on Facebook, I left it because I couldn't handle the nonsense on it. But there's a Facebook group which was like the UK BJJ scene. Mm-hmm. I think it was called the BJJ Underground, I think.
Oh, I'm on that, yeah.
Yeah, at the time, it was full of this kind of don't train out of the gym, dojo snort, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like there going, what? Last I checked, it's 2013, right? Do you know what I mean? We're not in that world. But anyway, that was my view. And also when I was in Paris, I trained at some Lucha Livre, Nicolas Regnier's Lucha Livre place, and our fight, which was super cool. And met some really cool guys and learned some cool things. So I was doing that. Sorry, this is quite long-winded, isn't it? So I was doing that 4 days a week, and then training in Brighton on the Fridays and at the weekends. And at the time, Yusuf and me had set up elements. So I'd been, I went into, because I'd stayed friends with Yusuf because he used to be at Ivan Maciel's as well. And yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up sort of becoming a student with Yusuf. I had been sort of occasionally training that was the thing, right? I'd go and train with Yusuf, and I'd be going, secretive about it. I was a 43, 44-year-old fucking man. Do you know what I mean? With a really responsible job and a family, and I'm sneaking off to train somewhere. It's just fucking ridiculous. And yeah, so then I started training with him, and then basically that's it. Stayed there from whenever it was. I suppose that would be 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So maybe a bit more. When we were at the old place in Hove.
But Yusuf was set up permanently then, right?
Huh?
Like that was Yusuf's full-time thing at that point, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Especially when I think it kind of became Yusuf was full-time. Miad was always part-time because he's got other business interests, and that's it. So I've been training with Yusuf ever since. Now, what was it? 2022. Got my black belt in 2019. So after 9 years of training, yeah, there you go. That took 22 minutes.
That's Sorry. All right. That's all right. Some guys really fly through it, and they're like, "So I have this 10-year journey. I'm going to tell you in 1 minute." We're like, "Well, what the fuck happened in the meantime?" So this was a lot better.
Sorry.
Did anything ever happen with Ivan? Did he ever confront you about sneaking off? Are we allowed to talk about this?
The court case is still pending.
We can talk about it. So actually, at the time, it's around the time the Ryan Hall open letter, the whole Lloyd Irvin thing kicked off, and I think there was a lot of self-reflection within the BJJ community. And being a 43, 44-year-old man, I kind of had that reflection myself, right? Where I was like thinking, what the fuck? What is going on? And we exchanged some messages, and rightly he was a bit annoyed because I know we pay, right? I know we pay membership dues or whatever you want to call it, but it is different, right? I do think it's different to turning up and playing football for a team at the weekend. I do think it's different because of the nature of the sport, and it does have a history. And I think, like I've said before, it is still not feudal, but it's still more traditional in the relationship between the people who teach and the people who go to learn. I'm not saying that's right, but I think if you're if from a culture and from a background where you perceive things to be a certain way, then I can understand why you'd be pissed off. And he was, right? He was pissed off. Since then, we've said hello to each other. I saw him at the Brighton Open recently. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" He's always asking me to go and train. Sometimes I'm thinking, if I go and train there, what would happen? How quickly would that armbar be off? I don't know. But he's been super cool. I think you got to remember as well when I started training with Ivan, he was young, right? He'd got his brown belt and black belt. He was in his mid-20s. And he's regardless of whether or not I think that gym is the right place for me to train, he's successful and he's built a life for himself here in the UK and he's done really well. And I respect that, and I respect the fact that he turned, like I said, an overweight IT consultant into someone who had the confidence to win competitions. And I'm not going to point out that when I did go win the British Open, Yusuf was there, not Ivan, and Yusuf cornered me on the day. But and I was under Ivan's team at the time.
It's all right. Yusuf's cornering his shit anyway, and I'm not.
Pass. But yeah, he's cool. So Yusuf has had a massive effect on how I view jiu-jitsu, the longevity around jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I mean, I remember going to about a week after I got my purple belt. So I was training at Ivan's, and then when I got my purple belt, I sulked so badly because I was like, I'd signed up for the Euros. Like I said, I was winning stuff at blue belt. I was just rampaging through, in the old guys division, but I was still having success. And I signed up for the Euros. I was going to go to the Euros. I'm going to smash it. And then I got my purple belt about 3 months before, and I was like, what the fuck is this about? And Ivan was like, come on, let's go and have something to eat. Because there was a couple of us got a purple belts that evening. Come on, let's all go. I said, no, I'm not going. Like, what? Because this doesn't happen all the time, getting your belt. I just sulked and went home. But anyway.
Well, you thought he sabotaged you.
Yeah. No, he didn't. He just.
I'm sure he did it. If it felt like that, it felt like that.
Yeah. Okay, but so I do talk to him. I bumped into him. We kind of cleared the air when it was last year actually, maybe the year before. It was the year before. Funny enough, my car, the place that serviced my car, is near his gym. So I was walking down the street to go and get my car, and I thought, that's Ivan. And there was no one else in the street. It's like, I can't hide. That would be bad. So I was like, let's just say hello, see how it goes. And he was like super nice and super friendly. So I think I built up this thing where I thought he was going to sort of, I don't know, slap me around the face, call me a creonch and armbar me in the street or something, double leg me and beat the shit out of me. But no, it was all cool. And like I said, I've seen him at comps since then and he's been fine. So
I think you said it before, and I think you hit a good point where it's kind of like self-reflection over the years. Kind of, I think jiu-jitsu's kind of grown up a bit, and people understand that life happens, and you're going to train at different places now. And I think it's less bad as it used to be with the kind of creonch and stuff like that.
Well, I think especially with the kind of the way things are now with the whole super fight thing, people being pros. The funny thing about that whole you can't train anywhere else, right? At the time, not just Ivan, but across the UK, it was commonplace that sort of you train, you fly one flag and all this kind of shit. All the black belts were all training with each other, right? They were going, where are you going? They're all fucking off to go and train each other because they want good training. And obviously, at the time, I mean, now you're spoilt for the amount of black belts there are. Back then, it wasn't the case. And so they would travel distance to go and train with each other. And you'd be like seeing all these like social media posts of all these guys who were there going, yeah, Creon did one team like that with their best mate going, yeah, great rolls today, guys. Hard training. Like, what the fuck is that about? So, yeah.
Why do you think the changes actually happen? Or you said that you think that jiu-jitsu is a bit different in the fact that that there is that relationship or something to do with the sport. Do you think it's to do with like historically where the sport's come from, or what is about jiu-jitsu that's led to the creonchi or the sort of student master thing where other sports don't?
It's younger. It's younger, right? So other martial arts, not so much sports, but other martial arts. Have you seen Kung Fu Panda, right? All that kind of stuff. That kind of idea of a master picks their acolytes, their pupils, and it's all kind of like, I am passing on the knowledge to you and all that kind of thing. If you think about how martial arts generally evolved, that was the teaching process. And to be frank, I think that teaching process is lost in the class element a bit sometimes. So, you rock up to a class and you sometimes think, is this really relevant to my personal development in this sport? Excuse me. But whereas in a one-to-one relationship, if you're not getting that personal development, then it's the fault of the teacher, right? 100% the fault of the teacher. So I think it still has a link to that. And I think because it's younger, that link has carried on a bit. You look at Danaher and Gordon Ryan. I mean, that link is there between those two. Whereas, other people less so. So I think that's why it's happened to do with the age of the sport. I think with regard to the history of it, I mean, Robbie, we and you have talked about some of the research and stuff you've done, and you just sort of go, "This is fucking madness." It's like the the cult of personality stuff that goes on, where people revere things. It's just like, how is this even? How are people? It's like flat Earth stuff, but in well, that happens in martial arts too. But it's like that kind of thinking where you just go, how are people acting in a subservient way? And the funny thing, actually, when one of the things about that was about how it was pushed, 10 years ago, was like if you rallied against it, like that kind of, you're not buying a service, the sort of master relationship with regard to teaching. If you in any way rallied against it and you saw the things on social media about it, then it was almost put down as that's because you have too much of an ego to to allow someone to subjugate yourself to that process, right? So it's almost like saying the reason why you don't like it is because you're too far up your own arse to accept that someone is going to be your master, and it's just bullshit because we're not in feudal fucking Japan, It's just a fucking, anyway. That's my view on that. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. There was another thing I was wondering about because you didn't really have much of a sporting background. Even the sporting background you had before Jiu-Jitsu, you told us about it. It's eclectic, and you said you were still overweight by the time you started Jiu-Jitsu. So clearly your actual goals for. Hang on, actually, when did you start doing martial arts? Can I just check?
Oh,
the Wing Chun and stuff, I guess, or
yeah,
Aikido, whichever one came
late
first.
late 30s, my late 30s.
And when did you start Jiu-Jitsu?
When I was 39.
Okay.
The year I was 40.
Didn't you get into martial arts so you could be in shape?
No.
No, I thought you said you looked in the mirror and you were like, "Oh no."
No, that was, I need to do something that was fitness related.
Okay.
And then I think what happened was I kind of thought I need something that's fitness related, and that kind of mythology of martial arts kind of felt like it was something when I tried all the other stuff. But the thing is, when you're stood in a sports hall doing horse stance and bong sows, I don't think you lose weight doing that stuff.
Well, clearly not, because you got to Jiu-Jitsu almost 10 years later.
So yeah.
My actual point, when I just realised that when I was saying it, my actual point was going to be, you haven't had much of a competitive background. I know you said you were winning the old man divisions, but I think nowadays, especially, a lot of those old men will have been doing it since their early 20s. So it's pretty phenomenal, actually, that you started that late and then started those old man divisions and then won shit like the British Open.
I would say they may be like a lot of the guys I thought would have, say, a judo background or something like that, and then they cross train. So you remember I was winning a blue belt and stuff like that, and purple belt I was medaling. So they often tended to be people who are quite serious about martial arts, but were pretty rugged. Yeah. So don't get me wrong, man. I kind of went from being this idiot who didn't really know what they were doing to someone who, I mean, look, I'll be clear. My wife, I don't know if she can hear me when I'm on this thing, but I was pretty obsessed with jiu-jitsu. So I would, even now, I mean, I train 4-5 times a week if I can. And at Ivans, there was a group of us. We used to do like a closed door session. So we'd do the training at 9 o'clock. Everyone, or 8 o'clock, the class would be done. I had the keys to the gym. So I don't know if you've met Fraser, Robbie.
Not
He's
sure.
a black belt now. Darren Bushby sometimes trains at John Hathaway sometimes. He's purple, but yeah, Darren. You beat him at the grappling.
That Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him, there was me, him, Harry, who trains with us, who's a brown belt now, and a guy called Dan Fitzgerald, who and he doesn't train anymore. And a guy called David, Spanish dude, and we would pull the blinds down because I don't think you're allowed to use the building for the sports after a certain time. So pull the blinds down, turn off half the lights of the gym, and then we would drill from like 8 till 11 and spar. We would be like poring over things like Marcelo Garcia's X-Guard book, all these kind of things, and just going, okay, then let's drill these things, and we would like troubleshoot everything. And I'd get home, my wife would be like, what the fuck is going on? Because I would be like, I wasn't avoiding being at home, but I was just training all the time. And she'd be like going, isn't that fair? I'm like going, no, look. She's going, well, oh, right, okay. And she was like going, who are these people? Because I'm not being funny. I wasn't hanging out with them unless I was training with them, right? So yeah. But so the reason I was winning was because I worked really hard. I was training obsessively. You're right to point out that I didn't really have an athletic background. Thanks for that, but also, like in my job. So my job is if I was to distill it down, it's problem solving, right? So am I going to make it sound like Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction? Like I solve problems, right? But I'm not Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction, but I do solve problems. And for me, that's what Jiu-Jitsu is about, right? You're sort of problem solving in a very stressful environment, if you allow it to be. And what I did as a white belt, I was always in half guard because I was so shit that everyone was almost always just about to pass my guard. So I thought, I need to deal with this. So I started just playing half guard all the time, and I basically had I had, the old school sweep, they call it, and plan B, where you're flipping the other way. So those two, and I had like a mean loop choke as well from half guard, and I used I just basically made those the thing. So every comp I would do those sweeps, and then I would add slight variations to it. I remember Ivan saying to me, do you know who Bernardo Ferreira is? And I went, no. I'm not really a jiu-jitsu geek in that sense. And he went, go and watch videos of him. And so I started adding his sweeps into it as well, always doing that kind of getting the lapel between the legs. Sounds odd, doesn't it, when you say it in a non-training environment?
Everyone's a jiu-jitsu guy who's going to be listening to this. I wouldn't worry about that.
So I started using that, and the thing about Bernardo Ferreira's style is, as he would admit himself, he's not an athletic guy, and that kind of style, I found that really worked for me. So I was really sort of focused on what I did. I met him, by the way, Bernardo Ferreira.
Oh, jiu-jitsu's funny like that. You can actually meet big people. Like it's not like other sports. You can actually meet people who are at the top of the game.
Oh yeah, so I was my wife had a load of air miles, and we were just sort of, what do you want to do with them? And I was like, I don't know. And then I worked out I could get to New York and back. I went, would it be okay if I went to New York to do a comp? So I went to New York for a week, effectively for free, and trained at Unity, and I went to Marcelo's as well. And the day I went to Marcelo's, teaching the fundamentals class was Bernardo Ferreira. He was world champion at the time, right? And he was teaching the fundamentals. And so I was doing that, and it was. Don't get me wrong. Unity was different. Unity was tough. That was hard training, but Marcelo's was much more. There's a lot more tourists and stuff. And I was there, and Bernardo walked past. I was in awe. Again, a 45, 6-year-old man in awe. It's pathetic, really, but anyway. And he walked past, and he sort of went, "Are you from Europe?" I went, yeah. I'm thinking, would I smell different? And he goes, what it is, I can tell where people are from by the smell of their laundry. And I went, you fucking what? And he was like, that was his thing, he was like, yeah, so when I've been traveling around the world, I think the laundry has a really distinct smell. So that's how I knew you were from Europe. But you're like, they're going, this is not the fucking conversation I thought I'd be having with the world champion of Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, there you go.
Not calling bullshit, but maybe the accent had something to do with it as well.
Yeah, maybe.
I was going to say, like, I wouldn't even consider it for a second if he had gone and said, yeah, I can do this. But the fact that he confidently came over and said, are you European? It makes me go for a second, like, is this legit? Or has he just, like, found it out beforehand and then...
I hadn't spoken to him. And the thing was, the class was rammed. Absolutely rammed.
How the fuck did he smell you then?
Our laundry must really stink.
What can I say? I'm just a really clean kind of guy. I don't know, man. It was, but yeah, he was super cool. He's just like a kind of like an accountant, if you know what I mean. There wasn't anything in any way ominous about him or anything like that. He was super cool. Whereas the guys at Unity, you kind of felt like that if you called anyone out for a role or anything, then you were taking your life into your own hands. Do you know what I mean? That was a tough play. They were really good as well. I mean, I went to the comp classes and stuff. I think that the only nice thing Murillo said to me was, yeah, that was a nice scramble you did in that one. I was like, is that all I get for Murillo? But yeah, that was hardcore. That was hardcore training. Anyway, I digress.
It's not really digression, it's jiu-jitsu stories. That's all we're really here for. One thing I was interested in, again, you prefer no-gi. Most older guys do not. Most older guys, it's true. Most guys say that they want to.
Call him unathletic.
It's fine.
JP, you know when you were really fat and you started jiu-jitsu? Thanks, Robbie. Yeah, I do actually.
We were not anymore. But it is true. Most guys your age will say they prefer gi because it slows it down. But you're saying the other day you like no gi to the extent where you don't even like the label of being like a pure Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Why no gi? Like, where did that love come from? What?
I'm not going to say it's to do with realism because it's not, right? But I do think there's something about wearing an arcane outfit to do. I could never do sambo, right? I could never do that. I could never wear that outfit. I just couldn't do it. In the same way, like Aikido has those big billowy trousers. I just couldn't. It's just, I'd be like, what the hell is that? So it's not that, don't get me wrong, I think gis and jiu-jitsu, I like the fact that they're tapered, and compared to other martial arts, sounds a bit lame, but that's true. But I think for me, the reason why I prefer no gi is gi has wrecked my, like if I just hold my fingers up there, that shouldn't look like that, right? And my knuckles are blown out, and that's from grips, nothing else. That is totally from grips. I get the idea that it slows the game down, but I think if you're proficient in entanglements, or I've been working a lot recently on like using arms for like wrapping someone up and getting into clinches in pressure type positions. I think if you're proficient in those activities, then you can slow the game down in no-gi. And ultimately, I think it's I think it's actually a higher skilled sport, because I believe in order to control your opponent, you have to be so much more precise. You can't hold a grip. You can't stop someone turning. So in jiu-jitsu, if you're trying to transition and counter someone, you can prevent them by holding cloth, right? Whereas in no-gi, you just don't have those levers available to you. So your understanding of the human body, I think, has to be improved. So I'm finding now that I'm, especially when I've been doing classes with more wrestle-based people like yourself, Robbie, or like Mo, who we train with, Ollie, who you've mentioned, obviously the terror that is Dominic Dillon. When I'm training with you guys, I am literally, well, I'm more than twice your age, and the same with Ollie. So I have to actually physically control you in an efficient manner. And I think in no-gi, that requires a higher level of skill. So for me, I enjoy that aspect of it. And also, when it comes to it being a fast-paced game, I get more out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I get more out of that than I do in gi. I just find as a sport and as an activity, I find it more enjoyable. I find it more taxing mentally, which is what I really like about combat sports, about jiu-jitsu generally. And if I'm honest, I think the point you made about the label of being a jiu-jitsu guy, I don't subscribe to that. I think things like catch, I think John Hathaway has to be probably the most naturally talented and probably hardworking as well person that I've ever had the opportunity to roll with, and he just, the way that he can do things, I'm in total awe of that. And so that's the kind of where I'm not going to be in his space, but that is what I think it's about, having a mastery of what you're doing and control of your body, being able to exert control over your opponent, being able to exploit their mistakes. And I love the fact that when I'm rolling with younger people, I have to work out how to counter their athleticism and their ability to be faster than me. So that was a long-winded explanation of why I like no-gi. Okay.
It's a good one, and it's going to upset some people, I think, if we say it's that no-gi's more technical.
I think it is, though. I think it is.
You made a fair argument. I don't really have any specific counter to it, other than there's more stuff going on in gi. But you are right about the levers.
And also, I think the rule set being open in no-gi, as it always has been, makes for no, I don't care about the realism, right? We're a bunch of people rolling around on the floor, playing a game, right? So I don't care about the realism, but I think having a wider submissions open to you, including, don't get me wrong, it sucks being cranked when you're 51 years old. Okay, I hate it, but I accept it. But that doesn't mean to say that I don't do it to other people. But anyway, but I think having the wider submission set makes the problem solving aspect becomes heightened. You have to think about where your feet are. You have to think about someone controlling, because in jiu-jitsu, in gi jiu-jitsu, or in certain rule sets, if someone gets your head, you're worried about them choking. You can defend that, but when you're trying to defend a choke and someone's actually twisting your head, popping your head off, or there's a guy we roll with, Lee, called Amos, who literally, he's subbed me by simply crushing my skull multiple times.
Maybe we should do a little aside to explain Amos's style of jiu-jitsu. It's Amos is purely on the submission only end of the spectrum. I don't think he really knows how to pass the guard. He's also incredibly unfit. Really enormously strong, but we drill lightly for 10 to 15 minutes and he is pouring with sweat, just a puddle on the floor. But he will make up his own funky submissions. My least favourite of them being the one-eyed pirate. The one-eyed pirate is where he'll get a grip around your neck or your head, and then he'll use his chin into your eyeball so that you tap. And this is Amos. This is Amos's style. His favourite guard is the dead man guard, which I've previously called the pencil guard. It's where you lie down flat, it's virtually unsubmittable, but just it's struggle. I struggle to call it jiu-jitsu what he does.
So he trained at Ivams, right? So I've known him from way back. He started training probably about the same time as I did.
Oh, what? So you saw him at the beginning?
Yeah.
What? Why did he end up like this?
He was the same then. He hasn't evolved. That's how we started and how he'll end, right? But he's a little bit older than me, and you know what I like about it is there's two things, right? One is he doesn't give a shit. He has decided that's what he likes doing, and that is what he's going to do. And there is another side to that. He has to be careful about who he trains with. There's no doubt about that. But the second side of it is back to the problem-solving thing. So when I roll with him, I'm thinking about these things, and I'm thinking, okay, so if I can stop him crushing, one-eyed pirating me, if that is even a verb, then that means I'm keeping my neck away from him. I'm working to ensure that I'm not he can't exploit a mistake. The problem, and what that does is it gets you thinking defensively, but you also have to remember that you don't want to spend a whole 5 minutes or a round being defensive. So you have to think about how you exploit his mistakes while you're doing that, right? The only thing is you end up in a world of Amos where you start thinking it's completely legit to do things which you really shouldn't be doing, right? So like they're just dropping your elbows into ribs or this kind of mean stuff. But yeah, it's cool.
I sometimes wonder what I'm doing with my life when I'm rolling with Amos.
Yeah.
He is interesting as a sort of. I find him interesting as a challenge in game planning.
Yes, exactly that.
Because he is just built. He feels like metal. He's just built like a tank. So it's trying to get him to open up so you can actually attack something. But the only way to do it is to do horrible shit to him, like knee on face, or like you have to. His knees on stuff. It's always knees on things. It's the only way I get him. Like I'll get like a reversed seatbelt on him and then go to knee on belly, and it's the only way I can get his arms to come away from his chest so I can attack him. But it's just bizarre. A bizarre style.
To tell you what it's like, right? We'll be doing all this stuff. Then at the end of the class, you'll be doing your penultimate roll or whatever you're doing, and you hear this noise. You look over, and Amos is stood there, like just bracing himself and just getting people to just randomly punch him. Just like, come on, hit me, and like going, what the fuck is going on? So yeah,
I just like how this podcast has been Robbie kind of giving like not nice words to his training partners. Next time you go training after this pod, you're going to get fucked up.
I say this shit to Amos to his face every day. It's not like he can fuck me up anywhere. Like if I want to avoid him fucking me up, I jog slowly around him and he won't be able to keep up. That's the easiest way to pass his guard.
Or the way to avoid not getting fucked up by Amos is, that thing when you're picking partners at the end of a round and you do the eye contact thing. Do you know what I mean? When you look around going, okay, then who do I avoid eye contact with? Well, that's what you have to do. You have to go, oh, Amos is looking at me. Oh, really? Oh, I'm parched. I must go and get a drink. Oh, my gum shield suddenly doesn't fit properly. I must spend a few seconds altering that. Oh, I don't know. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know where we got to. That was Nogi, wasn't it? Yeah. So I like Nogi because, and also, there was a Reddit thread on it actually, where a bunch of guys were eulogizing it. And I'd always liked Nogi. I thought it was kind of fun, and they were talking about it from an older man's perspective, older person, not man, whatever. And I was like, oh, that made sense. So yeah. The only thing is, I wish I've started doing it a bit more this week. Actually, is starting to work on my stand-up more, because I think if you're going to do Nogi, you can't admit that at all. So yeah, I'm starting to do that a bit more.
That's why I prefer it nowadays. It's just gi people diving at my legs and pulling shitty guard. I can't be bothered with it. I just want to wrestle someone, and people are just avoiding it. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I noticed last week when we did the comp class and we were doing the wrestling bit, right? And I was doing some bullshit stuff, and you were like, I thought, obviously because you're training, because you're doing that catch wrestling thing, but I noticed the definitive, you were very definite in how you were doing things, and I thought, okay, this makes sense. This is what I need to pick a few things and then work on them and make that part of my game. So like this week, so I'm not saying I'm a fanboy to openly, but Owen Livesey, for example, I think he's great. And there's the thing he says about the collar tie and working to the inside. And I just took that was I think it was on one of his Instagram posts, and I took that and I just started adding it into the beginning of a round. And all of a sudden I was like going, all right, now I've got something to focus on. I'm not pulling guard, and it just made sense to do that. So it's quite cool. But anyway, right, there you go. That's no-gi.
Lee, have you got a non-offensive question?
I just wish I could
JP,
jump in at calling people, but maybe I'll come down to Brighton one day and train. But no,
yeah, you should
I suppose the only question I was going to say is kind of as you have got older.
Really? No one's mentioned that yet.
Just so everybody listening knows, you are an older gentleman. How your body's kind of coped, because like I'm 30 now and like I'm injury prone, like there's no tomorrow. How have you coped with that?
So I've been super fortunate in that I've not had, I mean, I'm saying that now, I'll jinx it, so touch wood, whatever. I haven't had an injury that's required surgery or something like that. My fingers are screwed. I've had turf toes, all that kind of stuff. My ears are pretty gnarly. And I've never actually been choked unconscious. So I've been careful, but I think, so on top of my Ju-Jitsu training, I do strength training. I do some light strength training every day, which is just movement based with some kettlebells, and then at least twice a week I try and do a more sort of compound lifts and stuff like that. Again, my wife's a personal trainer, so we've got an array of equipment at home which I use for that. I'm super careful with my diet. When I was in Paris, I switched. Before Paris, so when I went to Paris, what I did was I sort of used to have a scale, right? So I'd go, if there's a good vegan option, I'll have that. If there's a vegetarian option, I'll have that. Fish, chicken, red meat. And then what happened was when I came back, I switched to a total vegetarian option. And the reason being because I don't know how often you've competed. I've competed a lot, and I used to cutting weight was just fucking awful. And you do all the key. What you eating to cut weight? Bacon. Are you really? And chicken, and that's it, right? You're just eating meat, and you're going. Everything stinks. You're on the toilet a lot, and that stinks. And it's just a horrible lifestyle. And my family are like hating me. I'm hating them. It's just rubbish. So what I found by switching to more plant-based, if that's the cool word to use now, is that my weight didn't fluctuate as much, and I was able to keep weight off. I mean, lockdown didn't help actually, so I'm probably 3 or 4 kilos over what I would normally walk around at or did before lockdown, and it's been a hard effort to challenge.
I mean, you cried at me when I said I was getting old and injured. I'm going to go like that to you now because I put 11 kilos on in lockdown.
yeah, exactly, right, exactly. It's hard, because I cycle. I mean, that's my bike actually, but I do cycle as well, and I'm and I'm one of those lycra twats basically, and so when you put it on and you're in shape when you're wearing cycling gear, you're like, hey, look at me. You still look a twat, but you think you look cool. But when I went during lockdown, I was like going, oh, this is a bit of a challenge. And so, I did put on a bit more than just the 4 kilos over lockdown. I got away with some of it. I use comps as an incentive, right? I use them as a thing to, if I aim for a comp at a certain weight, then I can get away with, I can justify to my wife or anything where they're going, what are you eating? And I'm going, I've got to find lightweight or some bullshit like that, right? So that's what I do. But yeah, I do look, I'm really, really on it with my nutrition, but just my food, but generally, like I said, I do yoga, do a lot of stretching, stuff that I think older people should do anyway, because if you need to do resistance training, and you know, I've got a shoulder injury that Sylvie from the gym has been helping me out with, which I need to rehab. But you know, whenever you see a physio, the answer is get stronger, right? To you know be, and I think, as Robbie's testament is an example of, if you're stronger, it affects your sport, right? If you're not, there's a reason why Gordon Ryan, apart from being some kind of weird lunatic when it comes, you know, a super talented guy with jiu-jitsu, he's big, right? And strength matters. All that sort of technique beats strength. That's bullshit. It simply is not true. If all things are equal, then strength comes into play, just like flexibility does. Does that answer? I think that was a very long-winded answer to your. How do you manage
it? Stretch, get strong, don't eat.
Well, no, it seems to be more around the supplementary stuff. It's not just like when an 18-year-old kid trains. Like when I was training Thai boxing when I was a kid, it was kind of like just go to the gym and I'll bounce back. And what you just said there is a lot of the supplementary stuff helps kind of carry on as normal.
Yeah. So I mean, this is where the real stuff comes out, right? Is my social life is non-existent. Okay, I don't drink. I'm not teetotal or anything. I might have an occasional beer, or you know, a glass of wine, or you know, whiskey or something, but I don't drink to excess. Not because I've got a history of abuse or anything like that. Well, I want to be. I love training. I love training, and I also know that I can go training one day and it can be abysmal, and so I want to be training the next day, because I know the way to get over abysmal training is to keep going. Yeah, and you know, and the thing is, yeah, I partied a lot when in my 20s and a bit into my 30s, and your health, it's not. That's fine, and it's a life. I wouldn't change it. It was a great time, but my kids don't respect that. They don't sort of go, oh, Dad's got a hangover. Let's all be quiet. They're running around doing whatever they want, making demands of me. So you know, it's for me, part of my life changing involved pushing some of those things to one side. But yeah, I think the main thing is don't eat shit, lift heavy things, move heavy things around. And I mean, I remember Yusuf saying to me once, and to be honest with you, I haven't changed it too much, which is, I used to have this like mantra that I would never turn down someone asking me to roll at the gym. I didn't care who they were, what weight they were, what belt they were, I would roll with them. And I think actually, Robbie, it would be fair to say, I probably still do that now.
Like, you do it unless you're really tired.
Yeah, like Ollie, who's the gym phenom, you know, it'd be that thing where, and I'm thinking, oh, Ollie's going to ask me, and he'll go, hey JP, do you want to roll? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Come on, let's go. And you know, I think if there will be a day when I can't do it, and I want that day to be as far off in the distance as possible, because you guys, you've got another 20, 30 years of this, right? So I don't have that. I don't have that 20, 30 years. No, and also, I don't want to be that guy who just flow rolls when they're older. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the guy who everyone take. I mean, maybe they are behind my back taking it easy on me. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, go and roll with JP. It's an easy roll. It's fine. You know what I mean? But you know, I don't want to. I enjoy the sport for the intensity. I enjoy it for the challenges it puts upon me and my body, and so, you know, I want to be in the best shape I can to do that.
I was going to comment on that, but actually, the typical advice when you say how he managed it as an older guy, not getting injured, blah blah blah. It's, oh, pick your roles carefully, take lots of rest rounds, don't go with this person and that person. So I really like that your advice was just not that at all.
So there is a structure to how I do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do. There's a podcast, the Raspberry 8 podcast with Simon Hayes, who's about my age. He's a black belt, and he's got some there's killers training at his gym, you know, Castle Gracie up in London. And if I rock up to the session and it's stacked with people who are super tough and really good, I will try and have a warm up roll with someone who I know I can move. I can get a lot of movement out of, so I will move, and then I will try and roll with the killers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I try and get those rolls in early, not to get them out of the way, but because I want them to get something from the round. So I want to be able to give them a good, put up a good fight. So I try and roll with them early. Inevitably, that strategy doesn't work because what happens is what I've just described, where I'll do all that. It'll be like 5 minutes before the end of the class, and then someone like Ollie will be, like I said, or Dom will go, "Hey JP, fancy another one?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right. Why not Kimura me 8 million times in 5 minutes?" You know what I mean? So yeah, but I mean, I don't know about you guys, but sparring is the most fun,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that you want to do. So I'm not interested in being a martial artist. I'm not interested in being all Buddha and Zen. There are positive effects that come from doing the sport. I like rocking up and having, we can call it a fight if you want. I don't really care, but having those sessions where you go at each other and you try and tear. You don't have to try and tear each other's head off, but doing I find that fun, right? And that's what I enjoy, and I want to be able to do it. So I can't back down from all the
Mm-hmm.
rounds, and having a rest round means, I'm I don't maybe once in a while I'll rest, or if I don't particularly fancy it, but I'm happy to do back to back rounds. Why not? You know what I mean?
I think you're probably more of a martial artist than you think, and partly because that idea about the Buddha Zen martial artist is a load of horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
Martial arts were made so that people could either hurt other people or they could fight them, right? Like that's why they were made in the first place. I think this idea about the Zen only in self-defense thing, I think it's probably a sort of Hollywood conjuration.
Yeah.
I think Gordon Ryan, like the thing we said before, he's probably right. Like Ju-Jitsu was made about a bunch of guys going to sort of take what they wanted. And that's what it was originally. There might be an honor aspect to it, but it's more about going and fighting whoever and not turning down any challenges. So I think you're probably embodying what was probably the actual spirits of martial art more than the Hollywood aspects of it. So I think you're doing all right there.
I probably should put some speedos and go down to Copacabana Beach and start fighting lucha libre guys, because I think that's what
not
they used
Brighton
to
Beach
do.
is too pebbly. I don't think even they. I think people are like, oh, Jiu-Jitsu was forged on the beaches of Brazil. If the beaches of Brazil were covered in rocks, I don't think they would have been.
Everyone would be doing boxing. It'd be Brazilian boxing.
Brazilian boxing, yes.
So yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's good for me. That was good.
Okay, cool.
All right, we got any other bits to explore? Any other bits to look at?
Nothing for me.
I don't know, mate. Have you got any other crazy stories to tell us? Any weird shit that you've seen in jiu-jitsu?
Weird shit.
Because you've not. Because I guess you weren't actually doing it in the early days in the UK. To be fair.
No, but 10 years ago, I mean, I remember as a white belt going to the Bournemouth Open. It was my first ever comp. Went to the, you were on that mat. Went to the mat. Sat at the edge of the mat, waiting for the match fight previous to end, and it ended, and it was a ref's decision, if I recall, and the ref gave it to one guy, and the other guy's coaches lost their fucking minds, right? And everyone started shouting in Portuguese. Next thing I know, the ref's taking, pointing at the coach, going, "You, me, now on the mat." I'm like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And there was a lot of that going on. I mean, I remember at the English Open, black belts slapping each other, throwing each other over. Maybe not. There was a few slapping incidents and stuff like that. But yeah, there was no. And on that BJJ Underground, there used to be loads of stories of dojo storms and illegitimate black belts and stuff like that. But for me, I never got involved in that. That's not my jam. I was just more into just the bullshit that I did, really. I mean, that guy, on that point, that guy Marcelo, I remember Phil telling me that when everyone left Marcelo's to go to ZT, Marcelo was like, got the stickers. So this might be total hearsay and anecdotal bullshit, but anyway, he went, you know what we need to do, Phil? Phil's like, what do we need to do, Marcelo? He said, you need to go and get some bricks and put them through the window of ZT5 school. And I'm going, what the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, that culture was still here in the UK 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It was still around. But yeah, it's gone now. I hope for good riddance, I think. Although it makes for good stories and stuff like that, it's not sustainable. It's not real life. Do you know who the best person for stories is? Is the guy called Simon Hayes. He did a series of posts. Do you know who Simon Hayes is? Either of you do?
I know the name, and I'm trying to think.
So he's a black belt at Carson Gracie's. He's basically a sound engineer. He won an Oscar for.
Everyone's a fucking nerd.
He's not a nerd, man. He's like old school Londoner type guy. He's best mates with Guy Ritchie, and that's how he got into jiu-jitsu.
The Guy Ritchie trains, right?
Yeah, so Guy Ritchie's a black belt under Renzo, I think. And the story goes that they were doing one of the Guy Ritchie films. So Simon Hayes works quite a lot with Guy Ritchie. They were there. I think Simon Hayes had been doing karate, and Guy Ritchie had been fucking about doing jiu-jitsu. He said, "Hey, come here, Simon. Come and meet this guy." I said, "What are you talking about?" I think the guy was named Scott. He was a blue belt from the States, and he said, "Come on, have a go." And he went, "What are you talking about?" And obviously he got into his karate stance, ready to, this is just between shoots when they just throw some mats down and having a fuck about. And he did this. Scott double-legged him, put him on the mat, beat the shit out of him. He went, "Oh, okay," and kept doing it apparently. And then he went, "I think there's something in this." And then Simon, he was part of the sort of old school black belts in the UK. Him and Dickie Martin, and he used to post these amazing stories about where he'd be going around the world filming and just like adventures he had at different gyms, where he'd turn up and just in these crazy places. Imagine when they make all these films, right? So he'd be in these crazy places and they'd be doing that. But that's the person you need to speak to with good stories.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please consider subscribing to the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram under the name Combat Thoughts. We'll see you next time.